So I'm not one that typically goes in for a lot of the discourse that happens around, crazy politics things and things like that. I ignore most of it. I mean, I watch a lot of it, but I don't really take a lot of it seriously. However, if I have to choose between left-leaning things and right-leaning things, I generally choose right-leaning things because they make a lot more sense to me. If I had to choose between Biden and Trump, I was going to choose Trump because the left has some just really crazy ideas about what the way you should think and what you're allowed to say and things like that. I believe in being able to say what you want to say. That said, the things that are happening right now are legitimately starting to make me concerned. I'm not scared yet, but I'm concerned because now it's one thing to activate the National Guard from a federal level and have them go in and handle local peacekeeping things. In general, that stuff should be handled by local police, state police. These things should be handled by the state. And I understand the argument that if the state isn't going to handle it, then somebody needs to. I understand the argument. I don't necessarily agree with it. If people won't take care of their own problems, then they deserve to live with them. I live in California. I live in San Diego. And I live close enough to this stuff that if this stuff gets out of hand, it's going to affect me directly. So if California refuses to stand up to these people that are rioting all over the place and doing these crazy things, then we deserve what we get out of all of that. If we're not going to stand up and do anything about it, then it is what it is. And the thing that concerns me right now is that the federal government is now sending the Marine Corps in to start trying to help these federal agents do whatever it is that they're supposed to do. And again, that argument by itself, okay, one federal government agency coming, one federal government organization, the Marine Corps, coming in to help another federal government organization, ICE and all of those other guys. When you look at that by itself, that makes a lot of sense. The issue that I'm having here is that we are sending federal military troops in to handle a local city and state problem. And to me, as somebody who believes in the Constitution and the way that the Constitution was laid out and the philosophy behind why the Constitution was laid out the way it was laid out, it concerns me when our own military is sent in to deal with these kinds of things. In my opinion, this is not something that should ever happen. We should never send our own military in to deal with local problems unless it is a verified invasion force of some kind that is being enacted by a foreign government, and now we need our military to step in because local law enforcement is not capable of defending against that. When it's your own citizens that are acting like asses, the local police need to deal with it. And if they refuse to deal with it, then the citizens need to either do what they need to do to force them to deal with it, or the citizens need to leave. And that's the way that should be handled. The problem that I'm having now is that up until right now, the rhetoric against Trump about wanting to be a dictator has been completely ridiculous and laughable and all of that stuff. Completely. You hear it and you're just like, oh, shut up. Our system doesn't allow for that. But it's times like this that allow the system of government that we have to be overrun because we justify sending the military in for this one thing, and then something else happens, and you get this snowball effect, this slippery slope, whatever term you want to use for it. We get this really bad problem of, well, we already did this, so now we should do this. And then next we should do this because now we need to respond to this new thing. And because you get this series of bad things that happen that continually justify escalating force from the federal level, the rules and boundaries and limitations that we have in place slowly get replaced. And then, as ridiculous as it sounds, Trump turns into Hitler because now he has the power. And once you have the power, almost nobody ever lets it go. So I'm not trying to get on here and be alarmist and start saying that, Trump, this decision is going to be turned into freaking dictatorship in America. But it is troubling. It is very troubling. I served 11 years in the United States Marine Corps, and the idea that my government would send me to go fight against my own countrymen, I would have refused orders if they had told me to do that. And I wish that our armed services had the same kind of mentality. I wish that the news was officers and generals in the United States Marine Corps are being disciplined because they refuse to go to California and be pitted against their own people. I firmly believe in the idea that our military is there to protect us against foreign enemies. I know that technically we swear an oath that says against all enemies, foreign and domestic, but the amount of power that the American military wields is just not something that should ever be used against its own people. That's what we have police for. And if the police won't do their jobs, then you replace the police with people who will. You replace the politicians with people who will. And if the citizens themselves refuse to do those things, to take those steps, even in the face of riots and all of that kind of stuff, then they deserve what they get. But at no point, and I know it's happened in the past many times. I don't need a history lesson. I understand that it happens. But it shouldn't. And we should never be okay with it. And my message directly to President Trump is stop. Because no matter how much you think you're justified in doing what you're doing, as somebody who leans very libertarian and more conservative than liberal, I'm telling you, it is not the way to go. It's not the way to go. We should never have federal troops doing anything at a state level. That's not the way it's supposed to work. I don't care if there are loopholes or things you can figure out that work around it. The spirit of the Constitution is what's important here. And the spirit is that the states deal with their own crap and the federal government that is there to deal with foreign nations. That's the way it's supposed to be. Yeah, people have interpreted it to twist it into whatever they wanted it to be because it benefited them. But we all know states run themselves. The federal government deals with countries. That's the way it's supposed to be. And never should I should never be put in a position as a Marine that I have to go to California and potentially have to shoot my own countrymen because no, that's not the way that's supposed to go. That is a job for local law enforcement. So, I don't know. I don't typically go down this paranoid road of, our government's going to do this because I believe that the checks and balances that we have are sufficient in normal circumstances to prevent things. But now we're starting to get outside of normal circumstances, and now we're starting to have our own military, our military that is supposed to be going and defending us from other countries. It's now being turned against us. To the rioters, I tell you, you guys are stupid and stop. Get the fuck off the goddamn roads and go home. Because what you're doing right now is just making it worse for everybody. And if you're the kind of person who is okay with doing that, then I say, fuck you, and you need to go to jail. And our law enforcement should be doing that. I know they're not, but they should. So I am in no way supporting the violence that is happening up there in LA or anywhere else in the country. Don't get it twisted. I am not a liberal, not a Republican either, but I'm not a liberal. I don't believe in all this crap. I believe in immigration law. And these things that they're getting upset about, I'm sorry. If you're here illegally, you made that choice. You live with the consequences. I don't care about your circumstances. There are millions of other people who came here the right way, and it's not fair that you come here and just do it however you feel like it. The rest of us have to live with laws. The rest of us have to put up with the crap that comes with the bureaucracy and all of that stuff. You don't get to jump the line because you can't figure it out. Go home to your country then. But as far as our own military coming in, it's not just going to be bad guys. It's going to be people who have misguided intentions, who are citizens of this country, who are going to get caught up in all of this. And my real problem is that this is exactly the kind of event that leads to something like World War II. I know it's not going to get that bad, but my point is that it starts off with something that doesn't seem like it's going to be that big of a deal. Oh, send the Marine Corps in to help these federal agents deal with stuff. But then it turns into, oh, well, we might as well use the army now to go into this other place and occupy an area because we need to get it under control. It's like what we're doing now still isn't enough, so we need to up the level again. And this is how we go down the little steps that take us down the road to hell. Okay? So I don't know what else to say other than this. Anybody who's justifying the Marines going in to deal with this problem needs to take a step back and look back at history and see how many times situations just like this one turns into freaking nightmare fuel. Because it happened a lot, and it's going to continue to happen if we keep doing stupid things like this. California needs to deal with its own problems, and if it won't, then it deserves to fall. It is not for the federal government to come in and deal with California's problems. If its own citizens refuse to take action, then it deserves what it gets. And that's it. So, I don't know what else to say about that. It is what it is. We should not have military coming in to do anything in a state. Unless, we're at war and somebody's invading us. That's a different situation. This is not that. Even if it's foreign agents instigating this stuff, it's still our own citizens. We don't send our own military in to do this stuff. I don't care if there's rules that allow us to do that, technically, not what we're supposed to be doing. And we need to stop it right now before it snowballs into something horrible. So that's what I wanted to say. Take from that what you will. If you agree, hit the like button, subscribe to help us reach our first 1,000 subscribers so that we can start growing this channel into something bigger. So thanks for watching. I'll see you for the next one.